Hello again everyone, Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about someone you may have heard of fairly recently, a person by the name of Elliot Rodger, and he went on a killing rampage in California. I believe this was by University of California in Santa Barbara vicinity, and this occurred, I'm thinking, on May 23rd or somewhere in that general proximity or time period. Well, anyway, let me start talking about his chart. Well, the first thing in his chart is he has the sun in Leo, and we look at this, and this points to somebody that you would think would be gregarious, showy, flamboyant, somebody that is magnanimous and giving and willingly grants others favors. And we look at this, and also somebody that could have much fortitude, courage, person that likes to entertain and be the life of the party. But we see, I'm going to talk about some things in the chart now that are going to contradict this to some degree. Now, the first thing he has is the moon in Capricorn, and obviously this is not the most demonstrative moon position. In a negative expression, it's someone that can be somewhat obsessive and fixated on certain things. Now, things associated with ambition, business success, may be part of the emotional needs of this person. He also has the majority of his planets below the horizon and in feminine signs. Now, this inclines toward introversion, over extroversion, somebody to be more pessimistic than optimistic. Energies are going to generally be expressed more privately as opposed to publicly, and more subjective than objective. Now, half of his planets are on the left side of his chart and half are on the right, which can show vacillation between self-reliance, independence, and dependence on others. Now, fate to some degree may be determined by own actions, and on the other hand, maybe certain things in his life would be predicated on others' actions. Now, he has a preponderance of planets in Earth signs. Now, somebody that has the majority of their planets in Earth may emphasize practicality and pragmatism. Now, the negative expression could indicate despondency and dejection. Probably it shows there's an emphasis maybe on being very economical, thrifty, and frugal. Now, most of his planets being in fixed signs shows he could be very resolute, persistent, and determined. On the negative side, it shows he could be intractable, somewhat unwavering, and obstinate. Now, others may would more likely need to make the compromises and in being able to adapt in relationships. Now, his final signature is in Taurus, because most of his planets being in fixed signs and most of the planets being in Earth. Now, the final signature in Taurus would emphasize or accentuate a lot of Taurian characteristics. Now, shows he may be very persevering, tenacious, and dependable, but on the negative side can be somewhat intransigent and very set in his ways. And also keep in mind, people with a lot of earth signs in general are in their horoscope or natal chart, I should say, can be premeditative. Stellium is in Capricorn, and this could emphasize and accentuate Capricorn traits and characteristics. This can make one very industrious, responsible, ambitious, and astute in business matters. But on the other side of the coin, it could give somebody maybe a strong melancholy streak. And it seems, I mean, I don't know if he was ever, he probably was never diagnosed with this, but it seems like he could have been suffering perhaps from some kind of depression, maybe to some degree. I mean, I really don't know 100%. I know he had something called asparagus or something similar to that. I forgot what it's called. He was diagnosed with some kind of clinical mental, I don't know if it was a mental condition or what it was, but he had some kind of condition that he was diagnosed with, and it was something that was similar to asparagus. It sounds like I'm saying something that's a vegetable item, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he also had a lack of water in his chart, and this could the only one planet he had in water was Pluto and Scorpio. Now, and he didn't in his solar chart, which is what I did. What I didn't tell you is that I didn't have his time of birth, so I'm obviously doing a solar chart based on Western astrology, and I used the Placidus house system. But lack of water in his chart, he had one planet, Pluto and Scorpio, and he had no compensation by the water houses, which is the 4th, 8th, and 12th. And it could indicate he may have had difficulty in expressing emotions, feelings, compassion, empathy, may have lacked insight, maybe to some degree, in the intuitive side, might not have been as developed as somebody that had more influences as far as water goes in their horoscope. Now, the lack of water in his horoscope may have given an indication of not being able to really understand how others felt in a lot of instances. Anyway, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the natal chart of Elliot Rodger, Part 1. And stay tuned next time where I'll be dissertating and talking about his natal chart, Part 2. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.